In my last video, I built a tiny AMD desktop and got Omarchy running in just under 2 minutes. But what if you need to take that with you? What if you want an amazing screen, all-day battery, and a premium feel that actually rivals a MacBook, plus gaming performance and top-tier Linux support? The new Dell XPS 14 is exactly what you're looking for. I went with the 14-inch model because it offers the perfect balance of portability and power while still offering the high-end Panther Lake performance in a 3-pound frame that actually fits on a small cafe table or an airplane tray. It also avoids the awkward oversized footprint of the 16. Plus, later in the video, I'll show you how it pairs and docks nicely with the Apple Studio display if you need a larger display. The unboxing, as you can see, doesn't include much, just the laptop, minimal documentation, and the charger. The specific model I went with features the 16-core Intel Core Ultra X7 Panther Lake chip paired with 32 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, a 2.8 tandem OLED touch display with 120Hz and 1000 nits of peak brightness, and an 8 megapixel 4K webcam. This model starts at $21.99, but you can purchase the base model for $16.99 if you're on a budget. However, going cheaper means losing the Intel Art graphics, half the RAM and storage, and swapping the OLED for a standard 2K non-touch display. Personally, I think the $500 is worth the hardware upgrade you're getting. Anyways, back to the initial unboxing, which by the way, I'm going directly from this to wiping Windows to show you just how fast I can get productive with Omarchy out of the box. We don't have to boot into Windows or see Windows at all, which is excellent. I love the premium CNC machined unibody that feels rigid and solid. The minimalist aesthetic is defined by clean lines, a seamless glass haptic touchpad, and beautiful graphite colorway. The XPS 14 features a latticeless keyboard design with larger flat keycaps that provide a stable and exceptionally quiet typing feel. The keys offer 1 millimeter of travel, striking a balance between a modern tactile response and a sleek low-profile aesthetic. I wish the custom Omarchy keycaps that DHH teased were available for purchase, however, ideally through an official Dell partnership or the Omarchy merch store, alongside Omarchy branded stickers, so that way I could truly cement this as my official Omarchy XPS. Dell really nailed the premium design here. You won't be disappointed with the build. It certainly feels like a $2,000 laptop out of the box at least. There's very limited ports if you hadn't noticed, just 3 USB-C ports and a headphone jack, so you will be living in a world of dongles here. I'm going to connect to the power brick and grab a dongle so I can connect the USB-A drive I already flashed the latest Omarchy 3.6 ISO to. Super simple, by the way, just grab it from the Omarchy site, then flash it to a USB using a tool like Etcher, for example. Alright, so anyways, I'll go ahead and connect that now, and then I will walk you through the full Omarchy install. To install Omarchy, power on the XPS, repeatedly pressing F2 to enter BIOS settings. Again, you want to repeatedly press F2 to enter the BIOS settings. This may take a bit, as you can see here. This is the initial boot right out of the box, so continue pressing F2 at that initial boot up, and then you will boot into the BIOS settings. Once the BIOS settings actually load, you'll want to navigate to the boot and security settings. You're going to disable secure boot. Select yes when prompted if you're sure you want to disable secure boot. And then once you've disabled secure boot, enable advanced setup in the top far left corner. Then you're going to want to search for TPM. You want to disable TPM. Again, both of these, Secure Boot and TPM, should be disabled before proceeding with the Omarchy install. Once you've successfully disabled Secure Boot as well as TPM, you'll want to save your changes. Once you save your changes within the BIOS, which by the way you don't have to save as a custom user, you can just save, select Exit to exit the BIOS. As the laptop reboots, repeatedly press F12 to access the one-time boot menu. Select the USB drive from the list to boot into the Omarchy ISO. Once booted into the Omarchy installer, select your keyboard layout, then select your username, select a password, confirm your password, then name and email, which by the way, you don't need to use the name and email. Those are totally optional. You don't have to provide anything, and you can skip it by hitting enter just to bypass with blank values. It's just used for Git. I'll go ahead and fill it out, however. Select a hostname or enter to keep it as Omarchy. Then select your time zone. You'll then confirm your selection. Select your target install. Omarchy will wipe everything on the drive completely, applying full disk encryption and to configure the file system, so there's no turning back once you confirm this. Alright, I've selected my drive, I'm going to select confirm, and with that, goodbye Windows. I'll go ahead and fast forward through the install here. It installs very quickly, actually 3 minutes and 49 seconds to be exact. That was a very quick install here on this Dell XPS. Once installed, reboot as prompted. Make sure you remove the USB drive. I forgot to initially before getting to this screen, but you can select Linux and then remove the USB drive. Then you'll be prompted to log into Omarchy with the password you selected at install. Omarchy will have 3 initial pop-up notifications prompting you to set up Wi-Fi, install the latest Omarchy updates, and then learn the key bindings if new to Omarchy or just in need of a reminder. Just want to stress that it's really important that you run those initial updates right out of the box, right at install. So I'm going to do that here very quickly. I'm going to log into my Wi-Fi first off screen. Once logged into Wi-Fi, I can then quickly jump to the Omarchy updates that install very quickly. Less than a minute, just a few seconds. If for whatever reason you need to revert back to Windows, use a Windows PC or your XPS before wiping it to create a bootable USB using the Dell OS recovery tool and your service tag. Then you just select F2 to re-enable Secure Boot and TPM in the BIOS, press F12 to boot from the drive, and follow the prompts to restore to factory image. I love that OBS comes pre-installed with Omarchy because look how fast we just got up and running, and I'm already in OBS walking you through my Omarchy setup. For now, I'll select a theme. I'm going with the Lumen theme for this video. I love Severance, but I also really love the look of this theme. Everything adapts to the theme, really creating a beautiful aesthetic within seconds of booting into Omarchy without having to do the heavy lifting of ricing my setup myself, which I really appreciate with Omarchy. I'll also quickly remove a few unwanted packages and web apps so you can see how quick it is to remove anything you won't use. For example, I'll tab through a few packages just to show that I can quickly remove these. Once you've tabbed through and select the packages that you don't want, you then just select enter and confirm, and they will remove all of these packages. Once the packages have been removed, you're all set. Same with web apps. You can easily remove any unwanted web apps. And I do want to note, you can also create your own web apps, which is really nice. It's just as easy. You go to install instead of remove. And here you can see I've quickly removed a handful of web apps. Then I'm going to install Steam so I can jump into a game really quick just to see how it performs. Intel's integrated art graphics redefine thin and light performance by delivering the horsepower necessary for smooth AAA gaming and 4K video editing without a dedicated GPU. By leveraging AI-driven XeSS upscaling and quick-sync encoding, the system maintains high frame rates with sharp visuals while maximizing battery life. This creates a pretty high-fidelity experience perfectly suited for a small, light, portable laptop like this. And overall, jumping right into Omarchy, jumping right into Steam, it looks pretty good to me. Oh, and as mentioned, the Dell XPS supports the Apple Studio Display's core hardware, providing a full 5K resolution, 96-watt charging, and the functional peripherals like the web camera and speakers. However, Apple-exclusive software features like Center Stage and True Tone are unavailable, and managing brightness or firmware requires specific Linux utilities or a Mac. Overall, the setup remains highly functional despite the loss of macOS-specific enhancements. But it's a great addition to my setup here when I need a larger display over the 14-inch. So when docked, I still get the immersive experience, but then I still get the portability of the 14-inch laptop. Intel's Panther Lake architecture powers elite multi-core performance and capable gaming graphics while maintaining exceptional battery life and near-silent efficient thermals. Hardware refinements further elevate the premium build by returning to tactile function keys, etching clear boundaries into the haptic touchpad, and introducing a stunning tandem OLED display. Rounding out the package is a sharp 4K webcam and first-class out-of-the-box Linux support. There are, of course, a few downsides I have to mention. The 2026 Dell XPS is very expensive while forcing a dongle-heavy workflow without offering an SD card slot or legacy ports, trading that for the thinness. You're also compromising slightly on hardware with the smaller, dimmer, and smudge-prone OLED display, alongside single-core performance that still trails behind Apple Silicon. Apple's M5 may still hold a slight edge in single-core speed, but this XPS matches its multi-core and finally closes the efficiency gap. You have to seriously nitpick here to find flaws. It's been over a decade since I could recommend a Dell or an Intel laptop, especially over a Mac, but they absolutely brought their A game. This is an S-tier laptop and an easy recommendation. The only real con is that the steep price tag is very steep, which is tough to stomach in this economy. Overall, the Dell XPS Panther Lake delivers elite performance, exceptional battery life, and a stunning tandem OLED display, but it's hindered by the expensive soldered RAM, limited ports, and the high price tag. If you're tired of Apple's walled garden and the stagnant feeling of upgrading to the exact same MacBook year over year, the XPS 14 is the best choice as of now. Combining Intel's incredibly efficient Panther Lake hardware with the absolute freedom of Linux gives you a true zero-compromise powerhouse that finally beats or at least equally meets Apple's offerings. In contrast, the recently announced Framework 13 Pro offers unmatched modularity, allowing users to hot swap native ports, easily upgrade memory, and natively run Linux. Ultimately, buyers must choose between Dell's ultra-premium sleek aesthetics and display technology or Framework's superior repairability and practical long-term customization. Both are a steep investment, but 2026 is officially the golden era to upgrade your Linux laptop and escape the limitations of proprietary ecosystems. Of course, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I look forward to the discussion. As always, thank you for watching, take care, and stay safe.